Hersam Acorn Newspapers, publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Nutmeg Sports for a Wednesday edition here on HANradio.com. I'm Rob Adams, flying solo today in the Shelton studio. Happy to have you along. Busy show. Chris Kalin coming up in a little bit. Mike DeMauro right off the bat. We'll get to Mike in a moment. Lots to do here at 203-442-9055. And I didn't have a chance to tweet it before we went on the air, but I've got a little idea, a little project for you. Now, I know you tend as a listener base to be a little shy to make phone calls, but I've got an idea, and I'm hoping you'll join me in this because I've got to do a project that I have to turn in very quickly, and I'd love to have your input on this. So ponder that for a moment, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But here's the thing. I'll throw the question out to you right now. You can think about it. I have to start setting the broadcast schedule, believe it or not, for football already because, you know, you've got a lot to do, people to talk to and all that. So I'm thinking to myself, as I'm looking at the games, well, what do fans want to watch? What do fans want to hear? That's where you guys come in. So keep that in mind, 203-442-9055. If there's a particular game you want to see. And for me, personally, I know where our bread and butter is. That doesn't mean you need to know where our bread and butter is. So if you've got a game in mind and you want to see, you know, Weston Barlow or whatever, let me know. All right? So there you go. There's your project. If you're not feeling comfortable to make the call, radio at hersamacorn.com or on both Facebook at Hersam Acorn Radio and at Hersam Radio on Twitter. So those are the various ways, and I figured we'll make it interactive. Otherwise, it's going to be up to me and the sports editors here because I'll get it out to all those guys. And we'll make some, you know, fairly smart decisions, we hope. But I always like to get the input from people. And that was just hitting me right before we were getting ready to come on the air. So 2:04, we've got a busy show, as I said, here today. And I was looking at a column yesterday from Mike DeMauro, who I've been following on Twitter for a while. I've read his stuff for a while. He writes for The Day and out of New London and has really written great stuff over time and just one of those guys that's been almost a go-to for me throughout the state. And there are certain guys that I follow very religiously, and when they write something, I pay attention to it. And Mike is one of those guys. He wrote this really interesting take that and I'll read the headline for you. It's time for CIAC to take advantage of technology offered by CPTV Sports. And by that meaning the idea of replay for sure. And you know, something that we want certainly down the road with NFHS and all of that. So the thinking being, and I'll let Mike explain it for you, that in bigger spots, maybe you can go to the monitor and check something out to make sure you get the call right, and that's where I'll bring Mike in right now. Mike, how are you?
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. It's great to talk to you finally, and thanks for coming on.
Oh, anytime. I appreciate it.
So let's get into this. What made you want to write this column? It came out just the other day, and I thought it was tremendous. What created this?
Well, it was I was covering the Class M baseball final, Sheehan and Montville, and one of the Sheehan kids hit a ball down the left field line. You know, we weren't sure fair or foul. If it was fair, it was out. And the umpire called it foul. And no one really argued. So I was like, okay, that must have been a foul ball, except that our friend Sean Boley,
right,
who I think was actually not at the game. He might have been at softball that night, tweeted out the replay from CPTV Sports that actually showed the ball stayed fair. And this was the second year in a row that in the M game that I happened to be at, the umpires made what I thought what do they call it now? A correctable error.
Yes.
I guess that's the term now. And I'm thinking, here we are watching this replay, and we know they clearly got it wrong. How come? Why isn't this part of what we're doing now? I mean, CPTV shows, I think, is at every state championship game in every sport now.
That's right.
If they're there and they have the opportunity to show replay, we should be using it.
I can't disagree with you. No, go ahead, Mike.
No, and I'm sorry. And the other thing, I guess they allow it in basketball. And 3 years ago, it probably gave Mercy a state championship, because without it, the buzzer would have sounded at the end of the Double L final against Laurelton Hall, and Laurelton Hall would have won. They went to the monitor, put time back on the clock, and Mercy won an unbelievable game with a three-pointer at the end. And I'm thinking, listen, if we can do it in that sport, we should be able to do it in the mall. Just for the state championship game. And
the game that Mike is referring to, he actually just kind of piqued my interest with the baseball game in Class M from last year, because, as dumb luck will have it, I was there on the call. Now, there's no video. What I'm going to play for you is audio, but I just found the audio of this play. I remember being absolutely stunned at what we watched. The whole press box at Palmer Field exploded. This is what it sounded like. This was last year, June 14th.
1-0 with 2 out. Check the swing, but it gets away. So a run will come home from third. Now the run rounding third. Here comes the throw to the plate. He slides. He is out. No, he's safe. He rolled him safe. On the wild pitch, 2 runs have scored. We are knotted at 3. There is chaos on the field right now.
And there absolutely was chaos on the field, Mike. I remember that play clear as a bell. As I was listening to you talk, all of a sudden I was reminded that I watched that very same play. And, guys make mistakes. It's correctable, but, boy, that was a bad call.
Yeah, and I checked with the guys at CPTV, and they said that making replay available is certainly possible. They said, it would require probably one more person on their end, and probably one more person on the officials end in each sport. So, so that means that somebody is going to have to pay one extra person, maybe 2 extra people. And I would hope that wouldn't get in the way of ensuring that we do what's right.
The immediate criticism would be that it's going to lengthen games, of course, but I see that being a negligible at best, because hopefully you don't have that many plays that you need to review.
Right, and this is not, we're not going to have this all year long. We're talking about that we're talking about one game, the final.
Right.
And if we all have to sit there an extra 5 minutes, I think we can somehow, figure out a way to fight through it.
I think it would be worth it because you're trying to get it right, and I know that home run. I saw the video of that home run that was hit back in the M final this year by Nolan Cloutier of Sheehan, and it was clearly a fair ball. But again, it's one of those things that, the umpire was out of position. He got it wrong. Okay, now take a moment, look at the video, look at the replay, and let's get it right.
Yeah, and I talked to some official friends of mine. They have no problem with it. I think that, as one said to me, look, our job, at the end of the day, we have to get it right. We have to get it right, and they have no problem with it. So, I hope that we can get the discussion at least going, so that we give the kids the fairest baseline that we can give them.
This is my favorite part of what you wrote. Pause here for a public service announcement. If you're about to lecture us about how blown calls are a part of the game, and if this is the worst thing that ever happens to these kids, keep it moving, irrelevant. The larger point is using a mechanism to help get things right. If we don't strive for that, what are we teaching? And you can read Mike's thoughts on theday.com. I think that's it right there. We've got to get these calls right. Now, will the CIAC be receptive to it? I think that's the big question, Mike.
Rob, I think 10, 15 years ago, I would have said probably not, mainly because it wasn't their idea. But I find that the CIAC is a lot more progressive now than they used to be. And I think if somebody brought this up to them, I think they would entertain it. Again, the hardest thing is the logistics.
Right.
How can we get the info from the press box to the field?
Right.
How many more people is this going to take? What they're going to cost? The whole thing. I don't think it would be all that much more expensive. The CPTV folks tell me that it wouldn't be that much more expensive, but at least sit there and explore it. And I'm hopeful that they will.
Now, there is an X factor to consider. CPTV was at baseball, and that was up to their discretion to take the trucks and, their replayability up to Palmer Field. Okay, now down at, for instance, Brian McMahon High School was myself and my Hersam Acorn colleagues. We have NFHS, and we don't have the replayability. Up at, Stratford were more NFHS people. You can see where I'm going with this. Are we cherry-picking where CPTV is going to go, and we're up to their discretion, or let's get it right and get it out to all the championship sites?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. This may be at the beginning. This may be football, soccer, basketball, baseball, softball.
Right.
That might be, that those are probably the sports where they're going to be. So it might be just those. I don't know, but I think as long as they are there, it'd be a shame not to use them.
What are the other complaints you would anticipate hearing regarding this?
I think the people who, the old human element things, the game is played by humans and should be officiated by them. People who don't want to sit there for a delay while the replay is being shown, all that stuff. But to me, that's just noise. I think the biggest impediment here is going to be the cost. Who's going to pay for it? And I don't think the cost is going to be so great that it should impede the bottom line, which is get the call right.
And let's be honest, and we're big proponents of that here. There's always that student, there's always that person that wants to jump in. There's always that, even 25, 30, 35-year-old person that wants to be a part of a broadcast. What I'm saying is, believe it or not, whether folks want to hear this or otherwise, there is free labor to be found for some of this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people who would like to just be involved in some way. But if we don't entertain the possibility, we'll never know.
I couldn't agree more, and my colleague Steven, sitting 5 feet away from me running the controls, by the way, he ascribes to that whole "I'm here for the glory of it" kind of salary, if you will, Mike.
I think to a point, Rob, we all are, because if we wanted to get rich, we'd be doing something else.
Yeah, that is for sure. Hey, Mike, what else have you covered? As I've had guys on over the past week and a half, it's been kind of a fun time to catch up with Sean Patrick Boley and Pete Pagwaga and some of the other guys I've had on to catch up on their region, things that they've covered, and kind of put a wrap not only on the spring season but on the school year in total. Give me some of your thoughts as the school season and the spring begins to wrap up.
Well, I'd like to ask you this.
Sure.
I think I wrote something back after the basketball finals that I think, at least starting with basketball, we should start to maybe think about separate state tournaments, public versus schools of choice. What do you think?
I think there's something to that, because being a New Yorker, I've watched, the Section 1 tournaments versus, say, the Catholic school tournament in the city, and there is something to be said about that. Being in around the FCAC all those years, I watched Trinity Catholic and St. Joe's dominate in basketball, for instance, and there was certainly reason to have that conversation. So I do think there's a legitimacy to that topic, for sure.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this for a long, long time. Back when I started at the day many years ago, New London ended up beating Trinity Catholic for the Class M championship in 1995, and at that time, Rochmel Jones was playing for Trinity.
Yep.
And who if I'm not mistaken, actually lived in New York at the time.
I believe you're correct.
And took the train to school. So New London beat somebody in the semifinals. I forget who it was. And the coach said, "Well, at least we won the public school division of M," because he didn't think there was any shot that they were going to beat Trinity.
Right.
And I guess here's the way I look at it. If Rob, if I coach a public school and I have 400 kids, and you coach a choice school, and you have 400 kids. My kids come from one town. Your kids come from 15 towns. Who do you think has the advantage?
Right. Yeah.
And I just think it's not, and I'm not saying you do it in all sports, but, this year, choice schools won SM and double L. I believe that's how it.
I think you're right.
That's how it went, and in a sport like that where you're only playing five at a time, one or two kids make a huge difference, and that's something I'd like them to look at.
And I think there can be something said of that at times for other sports as well. Certainly, hockey tends to be a sport that leans that way, and that's been an issue for some time where, for argument's sake, Fairfield Prep has dominated for years in Division I.
Yep. Yeah, and again, I mean, listen, I'm not I think sometimes this starts to become it tends to be a polarizing, kind of thing, and it's not. Listen, choice schools serve a purpose. Hell, I went to one. I mean, I that's fine. I just don't think they should be playing, public schools. I'll give you an example. I think it was 2012, could have been 13. NFA played Xavier for the Class LL football championship.
Right.
And where I live, NFA is the big bad school, 2,000 kids, all that, we shouldn't be playing them, and they're too big. Well, they go up against Xavier, who at that time had kids in their school from 71 different towns. 71. How are you supposed to compete? And I know that because the assistant principal was a classmate of mine. 71. Their best player, I think his name was D'Angelo. I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, though.
He was a running back. He's from Ellington, which is an hour's drive from Middletown. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't care how many kids NFA has. You can't go up against 71 different towns. And that's what I think so those were my two big themes all year were choice versus public and replay. That's pretty much all I got.
How about athlete-wise? What's going to jump out at you when you look back at this school year? What athlete really kind of jumped off the page?
Oh, the one for me was the kid at Sacred Heart, the basketball player, Aaron.
I agree.
He was just that's man. Now, I admit they got no business playing in Class S, none. But that kid, I mean, he's got star written all over him.
He does.
He was probably the best player in any sport that I saw.
Yeah, we had a chance to interview him as well when he played in the Martin Luther King Day tournament down at Webster Bank Arena, and he came up and sat with us for a few minutes. And boy, what an impressive young man! What a terrific basketball player! Yeah, nice kid. Totally. Yeah. Although I guess he's not going to Pitt after all.
No. I'm hearing that Kentucky's in this now.
Oh, no kidding.
And when they're in, that's so yeah. I mean, who knows? If you're good enough to go there, you're good enough to go anywhere. And I do know. I was told that they're going to be in Class M this year. So I would think that the competition would be a little bit better.
Wow. Could be fun.
Yeah.
Could be a lot of fun. Hey, I'm glad we finally connected and you came on the show, and really, I love the topic, and I hope you'll come back on again.
Rob, anytime. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mike. It's been great to talk to you. We will do it again. Thanks so much.
All right, Rob. Thanks. All right.
Mike DeMauro, great job. Really, just a great guy to talk to. Writes, he's the assistant sports editor and the columnist for the Day of New London. And just one of those guys that, being around the state, there are certain guys that I get to read. I get to follow them on Twitter. I don't necessarily get to be in the same room with them for one reason or another. Or if I am, I'm doing my thing, yammering away for 2-3 hours, and they're trying to get their quotes and get everything. So, and Mike's just one of those guys, but a great guy, and we'll be in the same room, and I can finally put a face to the voice and say hello to him. And he's just, again, there's him and the Joe Morelli, Sean Patrick Bowleys of the world, Scott Erickson. Although Scott and Sean Patrick I know much better. I've known those guys for a couple of years, and Dave Fierro down in Greenwich, and that guy Silverfarb, what's his name? But again, these are guys that Tom Yance being another one that you respect, you follow them, they give you great information, and what he wrote here was outstanding stuff. And whether you agree or disagree, that's not the point. The point is to get the call right. That's the bottom line. And it's interesting that Chris Kalen's coming on. We'll talk with him not only about Little League stuff, but Cato is an official. He is an umpire. He is a basketball official. So we can bounce some of this stuff off Cato and get his thoughts as well. Hopefully he's taking his meds and he will be nice and calm. No, I'm kidding. We love Cato. We're going to take a break here. We will have Cato on very shortly. That's what you see. These are the things you can say when your friends come on the show. We're out for a break. 2:27. I haven't forgotten about that football thing. I've already started kind of nosing around the schedule, but I'm curious if you have thoughts as well. 2:27. We take a break here on HANradio.com, streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network.
Breaks, sprains, injuries, and pain can now be quickly and expertly treated at Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Why wait hours in the ER? Save a trip and save money going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or call 203-845-2070. Fast!
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332, and online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Yeah, hey, this is John Ratzberger. You're listening to HANradio.com.
Collins is going to go back. He lines up over center. He's got two backs in the backfield, looking like they're going out of power eye. Handoffs to La Police. He breaks through. He's through to the 25, to the 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. One man in pursuit. He's going to fall to the ground. La Police is gone. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, New Canaan. Alex La Police with a 95-yard touchdown run. And New Canaan has made it a 27-14 lead over Wethersfield.
A flashback to last December as we bring on the voice of that broadcast, Christopher Kalen. Cato, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Robert. How are you?
I'm good. Long time no speak.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You behaving yourself?
I always behave myself.
No,
well, that depends. If you read the Norwalk Hour, I did. That goes without saying.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to bring that up, but do you want to spend a moment on that?
Oh, absolutely. It's not every day you get thrown under the bus in a newspaper. Yeah, but you guys are actually working in the newspaper when you get thrown under the bus. I wasn't even working in the newspaper getting thrown under the bus.
That's very true. You were an umpire for, if I'm correct, was this a Little League game?
Yeah, it was a Norwalk Little League championship game.
Okay, explain it for us.
All right. Well, this game. It was pretty much a 9-inning battle between these were the top two teams, and it looked. This is the first time I ever did Norwalk, so from what it looked like to me, it looked like they were the top two pitchers in the league, and these two young men really battled. I mean, they went at each other. They each went 6 1/3 innings before they exceeded their pitch count. The game actually went, like I said, went 9, and the scenario was. And I wish I had the teams written down in front of me. I'd be able to explain it better. But the visiting team was up 2-1 in the bottom of the ninth. Tying run on second. The go-ahead run was at the plate, and the coach for the visiting team had asked me after the count had gotten to 2-1. I want to put this batter on first base. Can I just do that? And Little League rules are where it used to be you can just put the runner on first base, you don't have to throw the pitches. Now you have to throw the pitches to coincide with the official pitch count.
Why did they do that?
Pretty much to make the pitcher throw the pitches.
Okay.
If you want to put a hitter, you know what it is if you want to put a hitter on and you want to give that hitter, do the intentional walk, which in Little League it's really frowned upon.
Right.
If you want to do that, you have to. They pretty much tell you your pitcher's going to have to throw the pitches to do it. They don't want to give the pitcher any kind of a free pass, so to speak, to avoid pitching to a hitter. So he had asked me. The coach asked me if he could put him on. I said no. You have to throw the pitches. And then the coach asked me, okay, can I have my catcher stand up behind home plate with his arm extended out to to have the pitcher throw the pitches outside like they do at every other age level? Well, I said yes. Apparently the coach didn't hear me or understood what I said. So when I went to the plate expecting the catcher to naturally throw all 4 pitches, next thing I know, the catcher goes down to his crouch, and I almost slipped and killed myself getting down to protect myself. And needless to say, 2 pitches later, the game was over because the young man who was up hit the ensuing 2-2 fastball. I would say out on the Route 7, if you at Broad River Park, I don't even think the ball's landed yet. He hit it so hard.
Right.
And at the end of the game, the coach said to me, he actually blamed me for the home run because he didn't hear what I said.
And it was written about in, I believe, in the Hour, correct?
Yes.
Now, take me through that. And I have no problem saying, and I don't know him too well, but I know Bob Burge was the reporter. What went on there where you felt like you got, thrown under the bus?
Well, it's the part where he told me where he had said he didn't hear me and essentially blamed me for pitching to that hitter. Where, in that scenario, if I were to be honest, if you're in the bottom of the ninth, Rob, and you've got a runner on second base and a 2-1 count on Mike Trout, what are you doing?
Right.
You're putting him on first.
Sure.
And this kid apparently was one of the best hitters in Norwalk Little League at the plate. And he showed it because he took a fastball that was about 3 inches off the ground and did a Phil Mickelson up over the trees with it. Honestly, the thing just took off like a rocket. And this young man got the pitch and hammered it, and they didn't want to pitch to him. Apparently, they thought I said you had to pitch to him, which I didn't say. And, in that scenario, and I tell every coach, if you don't understand anything I say to you, ask for time for clarification. You're entitled to it. Apparently, he didn't think he was entitled to clarification.
No,
so,
and I will say this from watching you work, and I'm willing to give you a hard time about anything, but you are in control at that game, and you always communicate with these coaches.
Yeah, you have to run the game, but I'm not there for me.
Right.
And it's not about there. People didn't show up to see me umpire. And I try to stay, I try to make my presence felt only when it needs to be felt.
Now, that's not true.
Fair.
I actually went to a game to watch you umpire one time and caught a lot of grief from both Mr. DiMaria and Mr. Irway about that fact.
No, what else is new? But, that goes without saying. But if, as an umpire, our job is, make yourself present when you need to make yourself present. Safe, out, fair, foul, ball, strike. Other than that, it's on the kids. Let them do all the work.
Right.
If you want to, foul ball, you want the play to stop. You have to make your presence felt.
So when all was said and done with that story, what were you feeling? What were you thinking? Do you wish, Bob had spoken to you about it? Take me through the aftermath.
I honestly, I didn't hear about it until I read it in the paper, and I've actually heard from some people up there, including Joe Tacone, who's actually the chief umpire for Norwalk Babe Ruth. And, I don't go around telling everybody this, but he actually told me personally, he said it was probably one of the best umpiring performances in recent league history. And he said it was probably one of the best performances I've seen. Because let's put it this way: I mean, how long does it take for a 9-inning ball game in the major leagues?
Yeah, it takes a while.
What, 3 hours?
Generally close. Assume 3 hours.
Yeah, well, we did a 9-inning Little League game, and it was full. And that was all the kids. I didn't have to call many pitches. Kids were swinging the bat. They were making plays in the field. Both teams were absolutely outstanding. I mean, it was just an old school, and it was either who was going to make the error that cost the game, and no one wanted to do that.
Switching gears for a moment, we had Mike DeMoro on a little while ago before you came on from the day of New London, and he had written this column about getting replay into the CIAC for the finals, certainly at games that CPTV is at. What do you feel as an official, as a guy who does cover games? You're in the media as well because you work with me, but you also are an official. What's your thoughts on kind of what Mike was proposing?
I like it. Honestly, it's something that can help bail out officials who either either make a mistake, miss something, or, and Rob, you've been watching baseball long enough. How many times have you seen a play on its face and not know either way?
Exactly. Many.
And you want to know something? As umpires, I've made calls where they were so close, I just had to make a call either way. And it's unfortunate, but with replay, it's an avenue where you can actually figure out, well, was he safe or was he out?
Right.
And there's also correctable errors that you can use for replay. I go back to the Little League World Series last year, where somebody had made a mistake, and an umpire rung a kid up on 2 strikes. Naturally, everybody thought it was the 3rd strike. It turned out to be it was only 2 strikes. But Little League Baseball has said, it's the 3rd strike, that's it. Even though ESPN, who was covering it, had it right there on the screen.
Right.
There was 2 strikes. And Little League Baseball would not allow the umpires to ask ESPN.
It's terrible.
Which actually was wrong. It's wrong for Little League Baseball to do it because every umpire, and it's written in the rules, any umpire can use any tools at his disposal necessary to get the call right.
And that's the bottom line. It seems like replay in MLB has worked.
Yeah, and you know what? Replay was used once before. It started in Major League Baseball. It was used once before. It was actually used in 1995, I think it was. It was the Giants and the Florida Marlins at, I guess it was what, Joe Robbie Stadium at the time?
At that point, it might have been Dolphin Stadium. I'm sure John Kovach knows it. It might have been Kovach Stadium at that point. We've lost track.
Right, and if you remember, the left field stands were like the Minnesota, like the Metrodome. They get pushed back and form a wall.
Yes.
And on that wall, you remember there used to be that orange line painted to designate home run and lower fence. And I forget who it was. I think it was Jeff Kent. I could be wrong on that. I think it might have been Jeff Kent who hit a bullet, absolute line drive bullet, off that wall, and there was no padding on the wall. And the second base umpire called it a home run. Third base umpire said no, it hit below the line, and they couldn't agree on it. And the crew chief at the time, and a friend of mine, a gentleman I met, the great Frank Pulley, looked at both of his umpires and got tired of listening to him bicker and went to the ESPN camera that was over on the left field side and used replay to get the call right.
Ready? I've got it. It was 1999.
It was 99.
It was 99, and it was a guy that you liked. It was one of your kind of guys, Clifford Floyd.
Oh, Cliff Floyd did that. Okay.
Hit a ball to the top.
It was against the Giants, though, right?
Top of the left field scoreboard against the Cardinals.
Oh, it was the Cardinals. Okay.
And originally ruled a home run. Frank Pulley, who was a great umpire, reversed the call to a double after consulting a dugout TV monitor. This is from Wikipedia, so doesn't always mean it's correct. But the Cardinals did win the game 5-2. After the game, the NL League office declared the umpires erred in using instant replay, and MLB would not use it again for almost a decade.
Yeah, and it was funny because they actually went to Frank Pulley, and if you look at any rule book at any age level, it's usually somewhere between Rule 9.2 and 9.4,
right,
where the umpire can rule and use anything not previously covered in the rules. So pretty much that's the rule where if we didn't think about it, he can use it.
And to resolve the other question, it was Joe Robbie Stadium from when it opened in 87 until 96. By 99, it was Pro Player Stadium.
Pro Player Stadium, okay.
My God, that place has had more name changes. It's crazy. Anyway, we're talking.
I know.
We're talking with Chris Kalen, 242 Nutmeg Sports. How about you've been watching Little League, obviously as an official? Take me through what you've seen, what you've been watching. What's some of the highlights for you so far?
Oh well, I haven't done many of the leagues. I know I've done every league at Stanford at least once. And looking at it, if you look at District 1 play, it's going to be a great tournament. It really is. Wilton always brings great teams to the tournament. Darien usually brings two terrific teams to the tournament. The tournament does have a different appeal than it has in years because the amount of teams in the tournament has been reduced greatly. I mean, it's shrunk. Stanford, who at one point I think had 8 little leagues in the city, is now down to 3. After the recent merger between North Stanford Little League and Springdale, they became Stanford North Little League, and they could be the favorites to come out of District 1 to compete for a state title, but I wouldn't rule out Norwalk. Excuse me. Norwalk, who is the defending district champion, always brings a team with good. They're more balanced than anything. They bring defense, they bring pitching, and they bring hitting. They're not going to blow anybody away, but they will beat you. Stanford National, however, is a team I think of all throughout the league. I think if you add up all the home runs, I think the league as a whole hit something like 50 home runs this year, and I scored I think it was a record amount of runs for a league with only 6 teams in it.
You said that they're merging teams. Are they struggling to get players? And if so, what do you think that's due to?
Stanford National merged with Federal because Federal Little League was based out of Cove in the Chapin area, which has become the general population in that area has become more Hispanic than anything else. So most of the young players, the young athletes down there, they're playing soccer. Naturally, some are playing basketball. Springdale and Stanford North, I'm still trying to wrap my head around why those two leagues merged, because both those leagues on their face were strong leagues to begin with. I mean, Stanford North at the 12-year-old level, they actually were runner-up in District 1. And for the past decade, I think they've represented District 1 in the States, I think 6 times. I think they've gone to the regionals a couple times. I know Northrop Little League, which merged with Stanford American, Stanford American, in essence, absorbed Northrop Little League's district, and both of those leagues were struggling with just enrollment in general. Stanford National, the league, like I said, on its own face was strong, was doing really well. It had great enrollment, but it absorbed Federal Little League, so the players who were actually playing there wouldn't miss out. And I think, what happened was Stanford North and Springdale just merged just for the sake of merging. It's honestly the only way I can look at it.
Right.
And in Norwalk, for years, had 3 teams. They had Ben Warren Little League, which played over at Broad River Park over near Route 7. They had Norwalk International Little League as well as Norwalk American. They all merged and became one league, which, unfortunately, it makes the league itself stronger becoming Norwalk Little League, but it's just a shame you don't see as many kids playing as you used to.
It's a shame. Is it the lacrosse factor? There's just so many things to be considered,
Absolutely. Ridgefield for years had two. You had Ridgefield American, Ridgefield National. Now they've become one league. Wilton always had the one league, but they were always strong. They have a great field facility. Weston joined District 1, I think about maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe more. Working off my memory, which is just about shot.
Yeah.
But Darien, which is probably one of the biggest little leagues in this area of the country, you go from Maine to Maryland. Darien Little League, I think, has to be one of the biggest little leagues. I think Darien. I think it's one league, two different divisions: Darien American, Darien National. And I think both teams, both halves feature something like 6 or 7 teams each. Plus, Darien Little League also has softball, and they actually participate in the Challenger division as well. Plus, all the younger age levels underneath, 11, 10. I think they go down as far as T-ball.
Switching gears.
If you've ever been,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was. Go ahead. You finish.
No, I was going to say. I'm sorry, my throat's getting dry. I just took a drink. Excuse me. If you go to Darien Little League, it's actually quite an impressive facility. It's right off in Norotan Heights in Darien, right behind the firehouse. You have one field on the upper half, there's another field on the lower half, and in between there's actually a smaller field which they use for softball as well as T-ball.
Yes.
It really is a quite impressive facility.
That's the place you had me come over to for a meeting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, when we had the meeting, because the meeting room we sat in actually underneath that whole area, the meeting room, concession stand, picnic areas, underneath there, it was all batting cages.
Right.
Which the league actually rents out to the Babe Ruth and the high school, and I think some other groups as well.
No, it's a nice facility. You're right. That's a good place. Switching gears, you know what? Earlier in the show, I said something about having, maybe listeners and tweeters suggest games to cover. Have you had a chance to look at the football schedule yet as I start putting together what we're going to cover this fall?
No, I have not. Honestly, I haven't. I mean, I could think of, 2 games you had talked about right off the bat. Greenwich and Trinity Catholic, which is really one interesting one,
right,
to look at. New Canaan and Greenwich.
Obviously, and we're doing New Canaan and Greenwich. I mean, we're there.
Yeah.
We're doing Darien Greenwich too.
Darien Greenwich. Okay. I think Greenwich is going to be a popular list. I think in general, I think Greenwich is probably going to be one of the more popular teams to watch this year, just to see how John Marinelli does.
Well, let's face it. Let's be honest. From the FCAC point of view, you immediately look at Greenwich, New Canaan, Darien, Staples, right off the top of your head. Now, you don't forget about Ridgefield. What are they going to be? And then there are the X Factor teams. You had a Stanford team that made a nice run. What will Wilton be like? What about McMahon? McMahon was, a play or two away from playing for the FCAC championship. So there are all these teams to consider. What will St. Joe's do this year? Are they back? Are they up? Where are they this year? So all of that to take into consideration as you start putting a football schedule together. And then the ancillary things that we have to deal with. How's the Wi-Fi? Is there hard line? How's the press box, the sight lines, all of that? So all of that goes into making a schedule.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think people want to hear our petty problems, but
no, but I think it's worth explaining because sometimes people will say, "Well, why didn't you cover, Alabaster State going against the school of Hard Knocks?" Well,
I understand.
You have a bad cell signal,
or you don't have any cell signal, like
right.
The case you run into at Tiger Hollow.
Right. Although Tiger Hollow we can hardwire, it's just a small press box.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. It's just that, a lot of people try to ask those kind of questions, and there are areas where you don't have the cell signal, you don't have the Wi-Fi signal. I mean, I know Richfield's been working on it for years.
Right.
I talked to the athletic director up there. He says it's just right now it's just not feasible. They haven't been able to put it together yet. Which is it's not his fault. It's it's just the way things are.
Yeah, they are supposed to be getting something up at Ridgefield fairly soon, although when, I don't know for sure. But So, all of a sudden here we are late June and we're putting together a football schedule. We certainly want to enjoy the summer, but it does kind of sound good to take a glance towards September and start talking football again.
Absolutely. I do have one question. Are we going to do dual broadcasts?
It's possible.
One video, radio for those who don't want to see what we declared as, the premier game.
That is a conversation that you and I will have. How about that?
Okay, just out of curiosity, and I'll ask because I don't mean to put you on. Actually, I do mean to put you on the spot. I'd be lying if I know. Yeah, exactly. District 1 place for the 12-year-olds opens up this Saturday evening with the opening ceremony at Stanford.
I know we've had that conversation.
Is it plausible that you and I will be Gary Cohen and Ron Darling in it? It
is plausible that we could be Vin Scully and somebody else.
Or John and Susan, is that sort of thing?
I don't know for sure yet because there could have been another card on my Saturday evening, but we shall discuss. How about that?
All right, let me know. I mean, hey, and for all the listeners out there, just come down and check it out. It should be a good game. Stanford National squaring off against Norwalk, so that should be a great game. So if anything, that'll be a fun watch, if not listen.
All right. Sounds good. You and I will talk about it. Thank you, sir.
You got it, kid. Take it easy.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Christopher Kalin with us here on Nutmeg Sports. I'm going to grab a break here, catch up, and start putting a wrap on this Wednesday edition and put a wrap on the week as well. For we're out for a break, continuing on Nutmeg Sports at 2:53 on HANradio.com and streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network.
The long winter is finally astern. Bait is invading the harbors, coves, and inlets. Stripers, fluke, and porgies are on the move. In the streams and lakes, trout, smallmouth, largemouth, and walleye have moved out of hibernation. At the dock shop, it's all systems go. And now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, and their newest location at 609 Riverside Avenue in Westport. Bait, tackle, apparel, and of course, all the marine and nautical accessories that they're known for are ready for you at the dock shop. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season. And we are rated #1 on the knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
Does advertising on HANradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on HANradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersam.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with Power Rise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
It's lots of characters. specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
It's grilling season, and Walter Stewart's Market is your local destination for the finest grill-ready certified Angus beef strip steaks, skirt steaks, 100% grass-fed ribeyes, all-natural pork ribs, Arthur Ave-style kebabs, fresh-cut veggies, delicious grab-and-go salads, chilled rosé wine, and ice-cold craft brews right next door. Walter Stewart's, your fresh local market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and shop online for groceries and wine delivered to your door at stewartsmarket.com.
Now you can keep up with what's happening in Darien with the convenience of the Darien Times Online. Your choice. Print or digital subscription for just $45 a year. Or get the print and digital bundle for just $10 more, $55 a year. To subscribe to the Darien Times, go to hersamsecure.com/CIRC or call the circulation department at 203-894-3388. The Darien Times, now in print and online. Don't miss a single issue. Subscribe today.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
Thanks to both Josh Fisher and Eric Gendron. I just got to see just this ridiculous catch made by Josh Donaldson that if you have not seen yet, you have got to go take a look at it. Now, you know, as Josh always, and Josh is not a Yankee hater, but he is a tweaker of anything he can get his paws on. He tweaked a little bit at the Jeter fans and at the Jeterific fans because, you know, the Derek Jeter play in 2004 was no doubt the momentum carrying him again into the stands on that ball. I believe it was hit by Trot Nixon of the Red Sox July 1st, 2004, which was a wild baseball game, won on a fly ball down to the left field corner by now Yankee broadcaster John Flaherty. So, you know, just one of those Yankee-Red Sox games that you can't help but marvel at, and Jeter's catch was, a big play in that game, and I do remember it that night, but the Josh Donaldson play is a true go into the stands and take it away from the fans type of play. Really ridiculous play. So terrific job there. Didn't hear from anybody today on what game, and I can understand. It's June. In your mind, you don't necessarily want to be talking about football per se, but I thought it'd be fun to bounce around, and, before you know it, we'll have a schedule put together, and I'll be off and running. I can't tell you what the first broadcast will be yet because I'm not 100% sure, but it's going to be here before you know it, and very quickly. I know I've got a game in mind already for September 18th, but there's a couple of weeks before that where not only scrimmages, but actual games being played that we can get to. Of course, we've got John Jay, the Indians, right across the border in New York, so we can get some of their games on. We can do some prep school games, Brunswick, St. Luke's as well. We can look at even some of the non-FCAC teams that are starting before the 18th, and I've already glanced at the SEC schedule, so before we know it, it will be here, and that's why we started bouncing the concept around today as to what we will cover in 2015. And again, it's June 24th. We'll be here before you know it. I mean, less than 3 months. So anyway, good show today. Great to have Mike DeMoro on finally. Great to speak with him. Great guy. We will have him back on. Look forward to meeting him in person. We will be back with, and thanks to Chris Kalin as well, Coffee Break, get your day started tomorrow morning. It should be Don and Kate, is my understanding. We will also have Stir Crazy. Yankee Fisherman will be along tomorrow as well. And then we'll slide into Friday. And, of course, that'll all start with The Drive, followed by Coffee Break, Behind the News, Radio Arts and Leisure. So busy couple of days coming up as usual. Hopefully get some sports for you. Cato and I will talk about that Saturday plan. Once in a while I like to have a little Saturday to myself, but we'll see. We'll have something for you this weekend. Anyway, my thanks to Steven and to Eric Gendron as well. That'll do it for Nutmeg Sports. For everyone here at HAN Radio, I'm Rob Adams. Enjoy your night. We'll see you tomorrow for Coffee Break, getting your day started at 11 o'clock. But for now, have a great night. Thanks for watching Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com and streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network. So long, everyone.
Yabba dabba dabba, yabba dabba 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 doo. Yabba dabba 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 doo.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.